I never remember. Am I supposed to read my script or then call it and then call it?
That's what you didn't expect it to do.
Call it. Oh, we're getting a little feedback.
So we're official. Sorry, that was me. Should be okay now.
All righty. I'm going to call the meeting to order at 7:01 p.m. I will read the governor's proclamation. This open meeting of the Library Board of Trustees is being conducted remotely consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of June 16, 2021, an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency. All members of the Library Board of Trustees are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order allows the Library Board of Trustees to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda, unless the chair notes otherwise. Members of the public who wish to view the live stream of this meeting may do so by going to Northborough Remote Meetings on YouTube via the link listed on the agenda. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will not feature public comment. Members, I will now do a roll call. When I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Mitch Cohen.
Cohen, aye.
Mary Crowley.
Here.
Jim Hogan.
Jim Hogan here.
Nita Karanchkar is not with us this evening. Charles Recchia is not with us this evening. Joan Scott.
Joan Scott here.
Richard Tucker.
Richard Tucker here.
And I, Michelle Rehill, am here. Jen Bruno and Deborah Hirsch are also joining us. And I'm pretty sure that Kate is watching from home. So that being said, my opening remarks were officially holiday treats have arrived. So if anybody wants to ask the library staff about anything, please do. But I mean, not during the meeting, because we only have 2 staff members. So that will move us on to approval of the minutes of the October 21st, 2021 meeting and the November 9th, 2021 meeting.
You need
Can
two
we
separate,
approve?
you need 2 separate motions or one
I
combined?
was just going to ask.
Typically,
Mr.
they're done
Roberts,
separately.
2 separate?
Yeah, typically they're done separately so that someone who isn't able to vote on it by not participating or watching the meeting later could abstain.
Okay. Oh, that's why I need this other thing. I had a piece of paper out and I couldn't remember why. Now I do. All right. Could I have a motion to approve the minutes of the October 21st, 2021 minutes?
I move that we accept those minutes.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second it.
Oh, I think I heard Mitch first, so I will go with Mitch. All right. All those in favor of accepting the minutes of the October 21st meeting, Mitch Cohen,
Aye. Mitch Cohen, aye.
Mary Crowley,
Aye.
Jim Hogan.
Jim Hogan, aye.
Sorry. Joan Scott,
Joan Scott, aye.
Richard Tucker,
Aye.
and I also approve. What was I say? To be official, oh no.
Next
Never
set of
mind.
minutes.
All right, now to move on to, I made too many notes on my agenda. On to the November 11th minutes. Can I have a motion to approve the November 11th minutes?
I move that we approve the November minutes.
All right. Do I have a second?
I second it.
All righty, Mary seconded. So I'll do the roll call for all in favor. Mitch Cohen,
Mitch Cohen, I'll vote aye, even though I wasn't there because I did watch the video and can confirm that's what took place.
Excellent. Mary Crowley,
Aye.
Jim Hogan,
Tim Hogan, aye.
Joan Scott,
Joan Scott, aye.
Richard Tucker,
Richard Tucker, aye.
and Michelle Rehill also says aye. Motion carries in the affirmative. It never occurred to me that you could watch the video of the meeting and so approve the minutes. Awesome.
Yeah,
I
it's
learned
just
something
an
new.
attestation that, that's what took place. So you can do that whether you participated or watched or heard any other way.
So cool. All righty. Minutes have been approved. On to the, hang on, the appropriations report. Do we have the appropriations report?
I was
I
going to
don't
ask
think
that
we do.
question. I don't think I
I
did.
didn't get it.
I didn't get it.
Oops.
Must not have sent it out yesterday. See, this is what happens when everything doesn't go into the one packet. I
All right, then.
apologize for that.
That's all right. We will pass over the item of the report. Yeah, maybe.
I'll ask to the best of your knowledge, Jan, everything's in good shape financially.
I was gonna say, it looks like when I was looking it over, we're maybe a little behind on spending our non-print budget, but a lot of that is going into overdrive for electronic content, and because that's so expensive, we'll catch up. But everything else is pretty good.
All right, we'll move on to the library director's report. Such a busy report.
Any questions from it?
So many questions. You talk about the current HVAC maintenance agreement and Sean mentioned that Sean Thompson, just to be clear, he's the town's facilities manager. I hear we say hooray for Sean. But it was something that was missing that needs to be in the HVAC contract. And you mentioned, it says the cost. Is it the cost to include the item? Is it going to increase the contract by 6,000?
Yes. But should reduce the repairs that we need to make on the system. So I think in one way or another, it will kind of level out, because without maintenance on the fan coil units, you know, we're not fully servicing and protecting the system.
Okay. And to do a little foreshadowing of the later part of the report, has it been added into the FY23 budget proposal
It
that
has.
you're working on? Okay,
It has.
cool. And then there was something about the water heater.
Yeah, I guess the date on the water heater, its end of life was about 4 years ago.
Yep.
It's still running. It's still okay. So, you know, now that I said that, everything breaks on Mondays. So on Monday, I'm sure the water heater will be broken.
Do we know how much it's going to cost to replace it?
I do not.
And
I know that Sean was working on a plan
okay,
to replace it.
because I encourage you to replace it soon.
Yes,
Yeah.
I would concur.
I think that we're just very lucky that it has survived. I've had my water heaters die shortly before, like a month before it's like, oh yeah, this will last for 10 years. And 9 years, 11 months later, they were happened twice. So I would encourage, I don't know how anybody else feels, and I don't know what the cost is. We would hopefully have that somewhere in the budget, be able to come up with that.
I'm sure that Sean will bring this up, that any water heaters bought today ought to be heat pump type water heaters that are very energy efficient. They will soon be mandated, I believe. But that ought to be a consideration. And I'm sure Sean will be on top of that.
Mm. All right.
Yeah. What I'll do is give him a little bit of time to, because he's helping all the departments with their facilities budgets. So I'll give him some time and then check back in with him about the water heater and try to have some more information for the board next month.
You're going to suggest that now that Sean is with the town full time and very busy with library operations, I think it would be great to have a buildings and grounds subcommittee meeting and meet with Sean during that meeting, just to
Sure.
go over some of the things that he's found and find the best way that subcommittee can do our
Excellent
work.
idea.
Sure.
Good idea.
Yeah, I'll facilitate that and get something set up.
Fantastic, thank you.
Sure.
Cool. Did I have anything else? My other thing was, I know you said you were in the process of submitting the budget. What kind of guidelines did they give you? Did they give a percentage increase or flat, or just said, tell us what you need?
The instructions were to put in what you needed to keep services level, and anything sort of above and beyond that would be a supplemental separate request.
Okay. All right.
I've got a question related to COVID, which of course you mentioned in the report. If the town changes the rules of masks being required in municipal buildings, let's say at some point they relax it, does that automatically necessitate that the library building does the same thing immediately, or do we have a chance to think about it being possibly a different issue?
Yeah, my understanding is that we can always go a little bit stricter, just not less so.
Mhm.
So, for example, before the town had their indoor mask mandate, we were still requiring masks in the children's room
Mhm.
and at children's events. So yeah, and the town was fine with that.
Excellent.
I don't think the mandate's going to be lifted anytime soon.
Given the way things are going, I think we're already in the right spot.
Yep. I did talk to, since you brought up COVID, I talked to Kristen from the Board of Health this afternoon. And I asked her just a quick check-in about children's programming and if we're still doing the right things. And she sort of reaffirmed that we're still being as cautious as we can, and with children and everybody wearing masks and limiting the number of kids that can come to the programs, we're keeping transmission rates low. They're not really seeing a problem with that type of event. And that what we're doing is in line with what daycares and schools are doing, and even maybe a little bit more strict on top of that. So we feel pretty confident that we're okay with keeping the in-person programming for kids going into the winter. Of course, I say that today. We all know that tomorrow it might be completely different. But as of this moment, we're okay.
Again, fingers crossed. Did anybody else have any comments or questions about the director's report? Yes, Joan?
Jen, could you talk a little bit about this potential purchase of the property next to the library?
I could, is it? Do you want to, Michelle? I guess it would be up to you because you can move agenda items around. It is in the agenda for new business.
Oh, okay. Well, we can discuss it then.
And I think Mitch can probably speak a little bit more intelligently than I on the subject.
We'll see.
No pressure.
No pressure, no pressure. All right, how about if we deal with the issue, because we put it under new business, we'll deal with the property afterwards, because I think that we can get through the new business things of the days that the library will be closed, on December 23rd, early closure. Those might have to be motions, votes, so we can take care of those, get them out of the way pretty quickly, and then kind of focus on the property issue. So if nobody else has any other questions about the director's report at this time, we will move on to the new business. The first item of which is December 23rd, early closure. So, and what did town hall, was it the Board of Selectmen? And they said that you could close.
Yep, so the Board of Selectmen voted to close the other town buildings at noon on the 23rd. They would love for the library to be consistent with the other town buildings, but of course, they can't make that vote, or they can't make that motion. So this board would need to.
All right,
And I
so
believe their justification was to reward the staff after
Absolutely.
another hard year.
we should close you the day before. Oh, no, sorry, I can't do
You can
that.
make that motion.
Make that motion, and then I could tell you that I've been resigned from the board against my wishes. So would someone like to make a motion that the library close at noontime on December 23rd, 2021?
So moved.
So I would make that motion.
I'll give it to Jim.
All
I'll
right.
second.
All right, so Jim made the motion and Mitch seconded it. All right, all those in favor of, I'm assuming there isn't any discussion of this.
I'd say the only counterpoint to it, and I definitely am in favor of this, the only counterpoint is school will be closed, and it's an opportunity for giving the kids something to do that afternoon, but on balance, I want to reward the staff for job well done.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, so all those in favor of the library closing at noon on Thursday, December 23rd, please say aye. Mitch Cohen,
Mitch Cohen, aye.
Mary Crowley,
I,
Jim Hogan,
Jim Hogan, aye.
Joan Scott,
Joan Scott, aye.
Richard Tucker,
Aye.
and Michelle Rehill also says aye. Motion carries in the affirmative unanimously. The next one in the packet, you sent, Jen sent us the list of the days that the library would be closed during 2022.
Yep.
I've really been practicing at saying what the right year. Does anyone have any questions, concerns, comments about the list that we have been presented?
Is there any difference? Sorry, go ahead, Jen, if you were going to speak.
I just wanted to quickly note that there is a federal holiday and it's missing, but it's missing for an intentional reason. And that is Juneteenth, which is a new federal holiday.
Mhm.
It has to be negotiated into the union contract first. So that may be an addendum at a later meeting, but we couldn't automatically include it here.
Okay. All righty. So other than that, was there somebody else have a question or comment? Oh, I think Mitch.
I was just going to ask if there are any changes of holidays between 2021 and 2022.
Nope.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Would someone like to make a motion to approve the list of closed dates for the library for 2022?
I'll make that motion.
All right, thank you, Richard. Would somebody like to second that?
I'll second that.
All right, Jim, thank you. And I will do the roll call. All those in favor of approving the list of 2022 closed days for the library, please say aye. Mitch Cohen,
Mitch Cohen, aye.
Mary Crowley,
Aye.
Jim Hogan,
Tim Hogan, aye.
Joan Scott,
Joan Scott, aye.
Richard Tucker,
Richard Tucker, aye.
and Michelle Rehill also says aye. Motion carries in the affirmative and is unanimous. All right. I did send a list of the dates that we're supposed to have the trustee meetings in 2022. And found late this afternoon that for some reason, some of you did not get the email. I got a send failure for, I think, four of the trustees. I think the only date, I mean, we can come back and revisit this later. But I would like maybe from discussion. The November 8th meeting is, that is Election Tuesday. And the town does not want any boards, committees, or commissions meeting on that day because the town employees are all very busy dealing with the election. So rather than having it on November 8th, we could move it to the next day, which would be Wednesday, November 9th, or we could slip it 1 week and have it on Tuesday, November 15th. Does anyone have an issue, concern, comment, preference?
I have
Or
a
whether we-
question.
Yes,
We're assuming that's they're in the library? Is there assumption that starting in April, we will be meeting live in the library?
we should be meeting live in the library again after April.
Okay.
Okay. So does anyone would anyone like to make a recommendation or rather than have a vote for the list of these, because my email did not go through properly, if we just have a discussion about what to do about November, I will do the list of the meetings again, and then we can send it out officially and make it official in January, at the January 11th meeting, which we already know when that will be. Do we have preferences? Do we want to move it to Wednesday, the 9th, or the following Tuesday, November 15th? Anyone?
I have no preference at the
No
moment
preference.
because
Tuesdays are a little better for me generally than Wednesdays, but it's so far out. I
Yep,
could probably make either one work.
okay.
I think just generally, it's probably better to stick to the same night because people often have conflicts and they kind of, even things that are scheduled out farther. I mean, personally, I don't have a preference, but it just seems like it might be better to stay consistent with the night and move it out to the following week.
Yeah, that would be my preference as well. So, all right, so for next meeting, I will have the whole list. And I'll give it to Jen to include in the packet. And I won't have to wonder why only half of my emails went out.
You just have to wonder why I left it out of the packet.
Well, yes. But, you know, that could happen. And then it won't be on me.
It's true.
All right. Making notes for myself. All right, now we can move on to the discussion of the abutting property that is currently for sale. Who would like to, Mitch, you started it, Mitch.
Yes, I did start it, so that makes it my problem. So, so the yellow antique house that is immediately to the left of the library as you face it from Main Street is on the market. It's a house built in 1730, I believe.
Correct.
And so it's, you know, it's a real antique, is on the market. I thought it was worthwhile discussing because it isn't often that a property abutting the library becomes available. A library patron brought it to my attention thinking that, hey, maybe you could put in additional parking or a driveway from Route 20 directly into our parking lot. It certainly doesn't look like it to me. And I know, Jen, you've talked to the DPW director. He came to the same conclusion that the property, it was split some number of years ago, and there's a 3-family house behind it. The 3-family house has more land, and we would have to also take that property or the land, some of the land of that property, or do a land swap or something like that in order to provide even a one-way road in from Route 20 into our parking lot. I did walk through that area today to refresh my memory as to what it looks like. It's very tight. In theory, there might just barely be enough room, but it would be an ugly turn, and it would be like the building right on one side, you might clip your mirror, and a stone wall on the other side, and you might scratch the side of your car at the same time. So I don't think it's a good idea to do that. You know, some conceptual ideas or advantages to having it is maybe we could use some of the house for storage, and that's a really bad use of a beautiful antique house. We could, and one of the things I would love to see is more outdoor space for outdoor kids activities. I think that's, you know, we're really tight on land space, and that's something we could do. Is that worth the town spending $500,000, which is the asking price for the house, to do that? I don't know. You know, we don't really, I can't think of any use for the library owning an antique house.
Right.
It is conceivable. Maybe the town might have some advantage that's outside of the jurisdiction of the library, such as, you know, senior housing or affordable housing or something like that. Something that was, you know, similar done with some of the old houses across the street diagonally from the library a couple of years ago. I don't know if that house is appropriate for that or if there's any funding for that. But I thought, as I said, I thought it was worthwhile to at least have the discussion, because this, if we want that land for the library, this is the time to do it, and it may not come on the market again for a very long time afterwards.
I would like to, Madam Chairman, see if we can get the information when we initially tried to buy that land before the last addition. What were the problems, so that we're not repeating the same kind of roadblocks that we had at that time about the historical value of the house or some other things. I think there's some things that we really need to investigate, because that was a very painful exercise at one time. And we don't want to spend a lot of time doing something that is not going to be productive. I would love to, truthfully, myself personally, I would love to take it down or have it moved or something and open that up for open space. But I don't know. There was a lot of pushback. Now, the challenge is I don't know if I have any of the information, but we did try to do it at one point before, when the original owner still lived there, which is right before the last addition. So I love the concept. I love the concept of the driveway, the open space, or getting the town to buy it, but I don't want us to go through a frustrating exercise again. somehow, I don't know whether we contact John himself or someone has all that information that we went through at one time.
Believe it would be with the town clerk, especially since it would have shown up in minutes of previous meetings.
Absolutely.
They would have access to those. Do you happen to know like a rough time frame for when that might
I would
been?
have to, I would have to try and, yes, I was a lot younger and a lot more enthusiastic. No, I will try to see if I can find something on my own here, but I'll see what I have. And then if not, I will go through the town clerk myself and try to get some kind of information about it.
We'd
Mary, do you
probably
have-
just look at the sale record for the house would probably give an indicator.
Well, we tried to buy it from the person who initially bought it from the original owners. And it was so exorbitant that what he wanted. And then when the town looked into the building itself to rehab it, was also exorbitant. It just, it had the old original kit. It doesn't matter what it was. It was just not a feasible thing to do. So I'm sorry. So, that's a great idea to try to go through the town clerk to get that information.
Yeah.
Rich,
I'm sorry, Mitch, you were going to ask me something, I think.
Yeah, I was curious if at that time the three-family house had been built, because I think
The
that was all part
three-family
of the
house
same
was not
parcel.
there.
No,
Yeah,
it's
it
not
was
there. So
not
that,
there.
yeah, that would be,
That's going to complicate
again,
everything.
without knowing the details, it would have been wonderful for the town.
Because
to
that
have-
was initially where we wanted the driveway to come into the library.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, the cost to buy that was just, the town couldn't do it. The town could not do
Mhm.
it. So the house wasn't there and there was a lot of back and forth. So yes, it's something, well, like I said, I support it absolutely. If we could do something, it's long overdue that we should have access somehow through that information,
Mm.
through that land.
Richard?
Rich. Rich.
Yeah.
I'm assuming from what you haven't said it, that there's no historical protection for this.
That was a tricky thing, Richard. I never was quite clear. I know we had a lot of opposition from a historical perspective, but I don't think it was on any kind of register or anything. There was just that it was valued as an older property in the community.
Yeah, I have not looked into it to that degree. I mean, it's a 300-year-old house, so it is historical, at least by stature, if not protected. I would really hate to see the town buy it and then just plain knock it down
Yeah,
because
that's-
of convenience. I would, if the town were to buy it, I would hope it would be either used, or I hadn't thought about the idea of moving it. Maybe conceivably it could be moved.
That was my idea initially when
Mhm.
we had a
Okay.
lot of resistance from, I said, let's move it. It can be moved. I mean, that's a feasible option. So
Mhm. Yeah.
that's what I wanted to do a long time ago. So
Okay.
I don't know what plans we could make for it, but let me just throw something out that I think has to be a consideration. And this doesn't mean, dead on and this the only way, but there may be some nice uses that the library can come up with. But a consideration, I think, is the setting that the library is in. We have a library with an old, very attractive facade. On one side, we have an old, very attractive brick building, with a sailor V. And on the other side, we have the oldest house in town, probably.
right.
And, we're a New England town, and I can't think of a better setting for a library, especially with, our 1860 heritage. And but if the owners have the right to sell it to, Joe Blow, who wants to put in a 3-decker or something, and we have no say in that, and we could come up with a better idea, better use than just having an unattractive and unhistorical building. We'd have to consider that. But I just think we should consider if we have any way to preserve the setting that the library's in. That should be a consideration.
That's a good point.
Excellent.
Anybody have any idea how we proceed from here if we want to? I mean,
So boards of selectmen have the authority, the sole authority to acquire property. So we would have to go through the board of selectmen. We would make a request or recommendation or something. Or, it could even be, we think it's worthwhile for you to talk about it. I, at least from myself, I don't feel like, oh my gosh, we have to do this and rush right away and really push to get it done. And it's a complicated process because town meeting needs to approve it. The money needs to get funded. And sometimes sellers just don't want to wait that long.
mhm.
But if there is, enough of an interest that maybe this could be nice for a variety of reasons, maybe then talk to the town administrator or the board. And maybe there's a combination of reasons: historical value, preservation, some form of housing, if there was somebody that was going to use it, combined with some additional benefit to the library, even if it's just preservation of the area, and maybe some additional play space for kids for library activities. I think that would be really good. I think if we wanted to pursue the driveway idea, that gets even more complicated. That in addition to acquiring this property, we would have to approach the owners of the 3-family house and negotiate a land swap or something like that, so we could get some additional land and then go in. And that's a crazy idea on top of a crazy idea.
Yeah, I don't think I don't foresee the driveway becoming a reality.
Yep.
I don't think that's, I would agree.
Yeah.
And
That's not,
Yeah, my interest in the concept of a driveway is primarily due to issues of people having a hard time finding their way into the library parking lot
mhm.
using the address in their GPS.
right.
And I don't remember if we've ever talked about it, but conceivably we could change the address of the library to Patty Lane, and that would solve that problem. But it wouldn't be as pretty of an address.
No, it
But
wouldn't.
that's a discussion for another day.
For another day, indeed.
Yes.
All right.
Seems that Scott's response, laconic as it was, kind of, to me anyway, sealed the deal on the driveway idea. I think we'd have a hard time getting anything through with, he's obviously opposed to it, so, and probably for good reasons.
Yeah. I think as much as I would love to have a driveway access from Main Street, I don't think it's going to happen on that piece of land. So we really need to take a hard look at why, what we would be able to do with it. Again, what does the library do if it owns a 300-year-old house?
But I love what Richard said, and I hadn't thought about that. The integrity of what those 3 lots would look like
Mhm.
is critical. That's absolutely a great selling point for people in this community who want to maintain the historical perspective of our town.
Right.
So
But
I did,
Sorry, go ahead.
sorry. I found the Register of Historic Places, and 38 Main Street is listed weirdly.
Is listed what?
It says 37 to 39 Main Street is on the register as Cyrus Gale's General Store. And I
Right.
believe the property is 38 Main Street.
That would be across the street.
The houses across the street are the ones that,
Oh, the general list store, the one with the columns, that's actually where the store was.
And there's a
37 and
mark
39, not 37 through 39. Never mind. It is not on the register then.
okay. All right, so does anyone have a proposal for what they think we should do next? I know, Mary, you said that you would be willing to see if you could come up with the information, like what we went through the last time and what issues we had.
Right.
Are you
Right.
willing to take on that action item?
I am willing. I won't be around for Christmas, so it probably won't happen till January, which speaks to what Mitch had said about, it's not urgent, but yes, I will contact the town clerk and see where I can go from there.
Okay.
Jen, I'm curious if you had a chance to speak with the town administrator and if he had any feedback or thoughts on this.
The email from Scott was the only feedback that I got.
Okay.
Let me, go ahead, Mitch, I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say it seems like there's at least some level of interest in seeing if this might be worthwhile
Right.
from the board is kind of what I'm reading. Maybe it would be worthwhile for us to contact the Board of Selectmen through the town administrator and say, we have at least some interest in possibly pursuing this, maybe combined with other town interests, it might be worthwhile pursuing it.
And I
The
think that
name,
might
historical in nature and so forth.
that might come from Jen. I'm going back to contacting the town clerk. I don't know if it's appropriate for me as a trustee. That also might have to come through Jen, that she could get permission for me to get that information. I want to be very clear as to what we're doing. So I don't want to, go beyond the scope of the board or a
So
member of the board.
the state of Massachusetts, any resident can request public records. So you would be well within your rights.
Okay,
Yes, you would. And I won't say.
yes, I
anything.
am. But let's not dismiss the need for political information too, to make it look like we are doing, I will do that. I might give John a courtesy of letting him know what I'm interested in doing too.
And I'm happy to send the town clerk and John's office an email just saying heads up.
That
This
would be,
is kind of
that
what-
I would appreciate that. I just don't want to not check any boxes.
Sure,
Right.
completely understood.
Been down that road once.
Could we as a board say officially or unofficially that we back Mary proceeding with an inquiry or whatever, however she's going to.
I think what Mary volunteered for is just to locate old meeting minutes.
That's all I'm looking for. I'm looking
Yeah.
for old.
Yeah, I think,
That's,
yeah, we don't need to make it fancier than it is and put more
Yeah.
pressure on Mary than she's
Yeah.
already willing to take.
Yeah.
But I think Jen should probably talk to John about, and I think you can summarize well our level of interest, which is some interest. But I do think it needs to be combined with others, and certainly the library trustees, we don't have a $500,000 sitting in the bank. So we would need, the town's full cooperation in order to do this. And the property could easily sell in the meantime.
That was my next question was, do you think there's a risk? that this
Oh,
will sell
absolutely.
Before we,
Yeah. What would normally happen is that if the town really had an interest, for example, if the Historic District Commission or the Housing Authority or some other organization in town, in addition to us, said, yeah, we want that too, that might be enough for John on behalf of the selectmen to begin a negotiation with the realtor and, possibly come to some agreement for them to pull it off the market, for negotiations or something like that.
and again, I appreciate your support. I think Jen does the initial contact with John is very key. And also with all the information that's going out about what's happening to the old town hall, I think we have to proceed very logically. And like I said, check every box that people know what we're interested in.
Mm.
I'd appreciate the email, Jen, and then I will contact the clerk myself and no rush.
Okay.
Okay, there's absolutely no rush. one specific reason, there's no rush, is I'm getting on a plane tomorrow, so,
Lucky duck.
yeah.
I'd just like to mention that, given all the things that have happened with the White Cliffs purchase, I would assume that the town is probably not very receptive to thinking about building or buying another historically significant building.
Excellent point, Joan. I hadn't even thought about that. You're absolutely right. I just focused on the town hall, but yeah.
Yeah, I just as a resident wouldn't be in favor of buying this just for the sake of buying it. I think the town needs to have a real purpose for it in order to go forward. And I don't think we have fully identified that ourselves.
Right.
We're more interested in the land immediately adjacent to the library than the building, other than for appearance's sake.
All right. Anybody else have any other thoughts or comments that they want to make about this issue? So as it stands, Jen will send a message to John and to Andy just to let them know that we'll be looking for some old information, public records. And then Mary will go and talk to Andy about it and see if you can find the information and get that back to us to look at.
Excellent.
Right. Any other comments? Check my notes again. All right, I think that's it. We are at the date of the next meeting, is January 11th, 2022 at 7 p.m. And is there any other business that anyone would like to bring up at this time? Richard, you made a comment earlier before we were officially in the meeting about a program.
Yeah.
What was that?
I just wanted to tell Jen that I attended and Nita did also, the native plants class that was given by Gary Phillips. And he took us through how to sow seeds through the winter, how to make homemade greenhouses out of milk cartons, the plastic milk cartons, to get the seeds to germinate for spring. And it was excellent. I mean, I think there was probably 15 to 20 people there. We're all spaced, with the spacing of the seats, it was full. But they were spaced 6 feet apart. And Phillips did a wonderful job, and I think everybody came away with all psyched up about the importance of native plants and trying to encourage that and trying to raise some of those.
Well, thank you, Richard. This is Gary's passion, and I met him through the Garden Club. This is just one of those things when different commissions work together, you get something fabulous. So Gary, as a private citizen, as you know, he's been working with the Southborough wildlife management folks. I don't know their exact name, but he wanted to bring it into Northborough, and he had approached the commission, the Wildlife Commission, independently, saying that he was interested in reviving the pollinator garden that was put in by the Garden Club at Watson Park many, many years ago. So the commission called the Northbrook Garden Club, and we got together, a group of us, and invited Gary to hear his vision. And then he just sort of started his own organization. It's just fabulous.
Talk about that.
Yeah, it is. It's just fabulous how when a bunch of people in a community have similar ideas, what happens. So he is, for those of you that are interested, Gary does have plenty more seeds. He is doing one, it's through the Northborough Garden Club, but it will be in our library meeting room. I think it's February 1st. If you want to come, if anybody else is interested. So you can create your own little garden like what Richard did, and you could either put the plants in your own yard or donate them to the project that Gary's working on at Watson Park to revitalize that garden.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it is. It's a really neat thing. So.
Cool. All righty. Thank
I
you.
want to thank Jen. That was a good call to get him and organize that. That was very good.
Excellent. All right, is there anything else anybody would like to say? Questions, comments, other than I hope you enjoy your extra time off.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
And we hope you enjoy the treats that magically appeared at the library today.
Yes, thank you for those.
Yes. And I will get everything in the fridge, Jen. So.
Oh, thank you.
All right, if there isn't any other business to come before the board, I would entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll make a motion.
I move, oh.
Go ahead, Mary.
Oh, Mary,
You go, Mitch, I'll second it.
Okay, I'll make a motion. We adjourn.
I
Oh,
second that.
thank you. I will do a roll call. All those in favor of adjourning the meeting, please say aye. Mitch Cohen,
Mitch Cohen, aye.
Mary Crowley,
Aye.
Jim Hogan.
Hi.
Wait, sorry, I'm on the wrong line. Joan Scott,
Joan Scott, aye.
Richard Tucker,
Bye.
Michelle Rehill also says aye. The meeting is adjourned at 7:53 p.m.